Okay, so for those of you on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, hello to you guys. For those of you now on TikTok, hello to you guys. And we're getting ready to go live on our Spreaker format as well. So the introduction is being played right now in my ear. And so we're going to say hello to those folks here in just a second. So now we're live on all of our formats. I appreciate you guys, spending some time with us on this beautiful, beautiful Saturday evening. It's Saturday. I'll tell you what, it's just crazy how time just goes fast. It just goes by before you even know it. So a couple things before we get into the presentation. I am Bishop Long. If you want to go to my website, it's very simple, bishopjameslong.com. That's it, bishopjameslong.com. So if you want to go there, check out the website. Great. If not, that's fine too. So bishopjameslong.com. If you want to go to the church's website, that's easy too, usocc.org. So all the questions really that people have about the church, it can be found there in the question and answer section. So usocc.org. That is, thank you very much. And that is the name of the church's website. So we have a lot to cover. usocc.org. Yeah. Now, tonight, a couple things. Well, thank you. And I appreciate all you guys being here. Truly do. Thank you for being here. So here's what we're going to be doing tonight. So, because I have kind of let people know, and we're going to see how things go. So in a minute, Miss Wilma and I will be coming on and joking around, having a good time from 8 to 8:30. And as we normally do, this is what we always do to kind of put a smile on your face, make you smile, forget about all the stress and worries of life for about 30 minutes. And then after that, I'm going to bring on a surgeon. This is an individual who actually went to medical school and for transgendered patients, for patients for gender identity, for surgery. And well, thank you for the gifts, everybody. There's a lot I see on social media about transgender surgery or gender affirming surgery, and I just think for me, I see a lot of screaming and yelling and calling people names and all this other stuff, and there really is no resolution. And to me, I like to have people who come onto the show who are educated, who've been trained in the medical field, not get somebody who's just has an opinion on it. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think we need to speak to doctors and even to surgeons about, hey, why do we do this? Why are you doing this? What is it about this that you are so passionate about? What is it about? So today we're going to have a surgeon on today, and he is going to talk about a gender affirming surgery. And that's what he does. That is his specialty. So people who are transgendered, he offers surgery for those people. And look, we have all walks of life here. We have all walks of life. I have friends that are atheists, that are agnostic, that are pagans, that are Jewish, that are, all kinds of faiths and denominations and sexual orientation and ages. I don't know what it's like to be Muslim because I can't tell you what it's like to be Muslim. Thank you. But what I can tell you is I've talked to many of my friends about what it's like to be Muslim, and I can tell you why they are. And we may not agree with one another as far as their beliefs or my beliefs, but we can at least be respectful. So we're going to talk about that tonight. At 8:35, he's going to be calling in. And I really want to this is, look, he doesn't have to do this, but he's a surgeon. I mean, he's not getting paid for it. So he's here on his own time, and his own dime to talk about this very important topic that a lot of people are legitimately confused about. We're legitimately confused about that, and that's okay. That's okay. But I think hopefully we can have a good conversation. So that's what we're going to do, and so that'll be at 8:35. He'll be calling in, and we will be going live. So, and I think it's pretty special, the fact that, like I said, he's a surgeon. He's not getting paid for this. He's doing this because he wants to educate people and he wants to answer questions. I think for that alone, that deserves our respect. Now, you may not disagree with what he does, okay, but at least we can be respectful, and we will be respectful, because if we're not, we'll just simply mute people or block them. I have no patience for people who are narcissistic and have to get attention by saying nasty things. I will not pay attention to those people. They are totally wasting their time. If if you're the individual that likes to come on and troll people, I promise you, I will ignore you very quickly, and we'll block you. And so we're all adults here. So yeah, I will. I'll talk about the W path, and we'll have that conversation because I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so but we'll have that conversation. And I appreciate Jennifer helping me. She's in the TikTok. Jennifer, she's a member of the church community, and she helped with some wonderful things. So thank you for that. So we appreciate that. But right now, folks, for those of you in TikTok, I'm going to put subscriber chat only on for right now, for the first 30 minutes. And the reason is I do that is because people can be very nasty, and I'm not going to tolerate people being nasty for the first 30 minutes. I'm not going to tolerate it. Just not going to do it. So, but of course we have, yep. You know what this is? Uh-huh. You know, this is Miss Wilma, everybody. Hello there, Miss Wilma. How are you there, sunshine?
Oh, hanging in there. Hope everybody's having a great night.
Yes, I am. Until you're setting us up for something, aren't you?
Why do you always say that?
Because every time you come on and you say this, you're always setting. I know, because I know you.
Well, it's just sad news sometimes.
Here we go, folks. Here we go. Okay, I'm waiting for you. I'm just waiting. Just come on. Come on.
Did you hear about the poor egg?
The what?
The poor egg.
Oh, you're going to start with the egg jokes?
He was hiding because he was a little chicken.
I have nothing. I'm not even going to play a sound. I'm not even going to play a sound effect with that. Nope. Nope. You're not even going to get me. Nope. 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 Not even going to do it. I appreciate you sharing that story with us again. Yeah, I'm very, very aware of what you're. Yeah, but no. How do I hang up? Where's the hang up button on this? Let me see if I can find the hang up button on this little thing here.
I really love playing golf.
But how many putts are there? I mean, really? I mean, how many putts are there in putt golf?
I mean, I do.
I mean,
I guess I got stuck on one putt.
I think you were putting. Did you?
But I do. I really do love playing putt.
Oh, you did it again. What are you putt? Get your putt going.
Okay, putt golf.
What?
I like to play putt golf then. I was after that one.
Okay, well
I put one in, took one out.
All right, well tell us about this putt 15,000 putt gods.
One day I hit the golf ball, and then I lost the ball because my string came off. No. See, every time I hit the ball, I brought the string back. That way we had to chase after the ball, but then I lost it because the string broke.
I
string to a ball.
No.
Like that, the golf ball.
No, no, I've never. What kind of game are you playing?
I used to do that basketball. I did.
Wait a minute, you had a string attached to the basketball?
Uh-huh. This is no joke. This is no joke.
Okay? Oh, I believe you. I believe you when you say that.
You know those little balls that boing bounces. You know, they bounce a lot. They're little bitty little. They're little balls. Well, the kids and I used to play basketball. Well, one day it was raining, and I said, "Hey, y'all will play basketball." And they're like, "We can't. It's raining." Well, I got a box. Now, if parents, if you had children, this is a good idea too, okay? I got a box, and I put it away, pretty good piece from us. Well, what I did, I took a hoe. I cut a hoe in a little bitty ball, and I took a big needle, It has to be a big needle. And you pull it through this ball and then tie it. Well, when you throw the ball, you don't have to keep running after the ball because it's tied to that string. So we used to do that. The kids love playing that. We would throw the ball to see if it would get in the ball. No, seriously, we did. We used to do that. We played that all the time.
So you tied a string around a ball.
What you do, you take a pretty good sized needle, like a yarn needle.
Yeah.
And you pull yarn through it. Through the needle. Well, those little rubber balls, they're real, they're rubber.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I did, I took the needle through the little ball, and then when it went through, I tied it.
Okay.
And then when I told the kids to take turns, so we would sit like in the floor, and then we would
that's too much. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's way too much. It's cheers, everybody.
It's a fun game.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question. I think the reason is your jokes are so bad is what kind of paper do you use?
A rewrite paper.
I'm sorry. What was that? What was that?
It's school paper. It's rewrite paper.
Are you saying woo paper? What are you saying? What kind of paper? What kind of paper is that?
Okay, like the school paper that you get.
Oh yeah.
It's called rude ride paper.
Rude. It's a rude paper.
Rude paper. Rude ride paper.
Okay, folks, this is what happens every time. Right before the show, she does this in our Kentucky Moonshine. Okay. Wilma, you cannot leave your Kentucky Moonshine alone before you come on the air with us, please.
Okay. RULED and then WIDE. Rude ride paper.
I'm telling folks, this is Wilma Nees. This is Wilma Nees.
And then WIDE. It's called rude ride, and you can't get it at Walmart. You have to order it online.
Well, I think you probably from the land of Wilma.
No, they do have rude ride paper. They do, but it's a thing, and I don't like that.
You mean
it's called rude ride?
Okay, I think you're wide rule.
Is it wide rule or rule ride? I thought it was rule ride.
Whatever that word you're saying, woo woo. Yes, it's a woo woo.
RULED, woo ride. It's rule ride paper.
Rolled. That's how a rolled, not woo. You're not going woo woo.
No, I couldn't say it. Woo ride.
You're going woo woo like a woo woo like that.
I'm not woo woo.
See, that's exactly right there. That sound is what she does at Walmart. Right there, when she sees those boyfriends that she likes at Walmart, that's what she does. Woo woo. That's exactly that's her call. Well, now she's trying to be fancy on us. Now she's trying to be fancy. Thank you.
That's what it's called.
Okay, so tell us another grade on your woo woo paper. Go ahead. We were dying to know some more woo.
Did you know that deers had to get braces?
They had to get a who?
Did you know a deer had to get braces?
Braces? Why would a deer have to get braces?
A duck teeth.
No, that's a terrible one. You definitely wrote that on your woo woo paper. You must have misspelled it or something. You don't have to explain the joke to me. I get it. Melissa Sullivan. Now, folks, you guys are laughing at these jokes. Don't you understand that this is punishment? This is my purgatory. This is my purgatory right here.
But that is
I'm in purgatory.
This joke that deer had to get braces because he had buck teeth.
Do you know what I'm craving now, Miss Wilma? You know what I'm craving? I am craving some sausage. Some sausage with some eggs. I want some. I'd say that story. I want some sausage and eggs right now. That sounds so good, Miss Wilma. Don't you like sausage and eggs?
Did you know that a box went on a vacation?
Oh, you're completely ignoring this. You're completely and totally ignoring this. I've noticed that you're not even paying attention to that joke by that thing.
Did you know a box went on a vacation?
Okay, no, okay, folks. No. Wait. Let's. Well, hold on. Let's hold. That's it. I'm telling you, folks.
Okay.
Come on, let's just do it. Let's just come on. Just everybody, just dance up. Hold on, we're playing a song here. You can't just interrupt our beautiful song. This is the chicken dance. Okay, I think that chicken just went to the roof. No, not that type of music. That's punishment. Okay, now.
Did you want a record of that?
Did you just la me?
I was singing the song.
That was not singing the song. That was a torturous song. She's la land.
Did you want a record of that?
No, I don't want no record of that. Absolutely not. Oh, by the way, everybody, I got
put it in the garden and shoot at it. Make a good time to practice.
By the way, for those of you who Miss Wilma, I've got to talk to everybody about this, okay? Because this isn't that chicken just got fired. I got to talk to everybody about this because Miss Wilma is sad. Miss Wilma is sad, and I'll have to. Yes, Donny Osmond is coming to Louisville, Kentucky. Louisville. And those tickets are cray expensive. He thinks he's Elvis Presley.
But he's worth every penny.
Well, it is great. I did one time. There was a friend of mine who knew a dancer of Donny Osmond, and we got in touch with their manager, and so we got tickets, and Donny. She got to meet Donny backstage, and let me tell you, she slobbered all over that man. It's like a little pit. It's like a little puppy. He was singing Puppy Love, and she was the dog. I mean, I'm telling you right now, she was the dog. Oh yes, you were. You were like you were like that Britney Spears. Oh baby, or something. I don't know.
No, he's coming June the 23rd. So if you love Donny, he's going to be at the Louisville Palace.
Oh yeah, we can't.
It's really hurting my friend and I because we can't go. I can't.
Yeah, I know.
I can't walk very far.
Right.
And I don't know how far we'd have to park, and because it is crazy. They got 3. Well, I'm telling you,
they have parking there. So you pull in, and they have valet parking where you pull in. Thank you. They have valet parking, and you can just pull in. But it is expensive. The tickets are like $400. That's pricey. I mean, really, he thinks he's ill, but he does put on a great show. I will say he and Marie.
If his ticket was $2 million, he's still worth everything.
Okay. No, that's where you've lost us right there, sunshine. That $2 million.
No, I'll get back to you, sausage. Today, I fixed a terrible meal. Do I? What's the matter?
Nothing.
Oh. Well, I thought you said something. I'm sorry.
No, let's get back to your sausage story. Let's get back to your sausage story.
You brought the sausage up, but I want to let people know that today was a terrible. I'm not able to cook anymore, but I get hungry, for stuff, and I have, people comes in, helps me cook and stuff. So, yeah. But anyway, I try to do stuff. So I'm hungry for sausage. Now, there's Tennessee Pride mild sausage. You get 30 in a box.
Right.
All I wanted was 4. I took a hammer and a butter knife trying to break it apart, couldn't get it apart. I tried everything. Well, they stock what they do in these thoughts. They put the sausage is already patted up like a hamburger. Well, they stack them up. They got paper between it. Well, when you put it in the freezer and then you get it out, there's 30 sausages frozen. And here I'm trying to do 4, which it was a mess.
Yeah.
So I finally got 5 apart. So I had to cook it with the paper on it. And I was like, oh, I don't know if this is good or not. But anyway, I couldn't get them apart. So I kept flipping it. Well, finally it loosened up.
Yeah, but to be fair, okay, but time out. But to be fair, though, you have MS. So, I mean, really, if they're putting sausages stacked up on there, frozen together like that, that would be hard for anybody to pull apart. And that's why I'm going to, when we go, I'll go to Walmart one day and I'll show you the sausage that I buy it's already cooked. You just put it in the microwave and it comes just in 2 in a small little pouch. And when you open it up, it's just 2, and all you got to do is put it in the microwave, thawed out. And then once it's thawed out, you separate it and boom, you cook it in the microwave, bam, bam, you're done.
That's easier.
I'll show
you.
You
have to cook this.
Yeah. I'm talking, everybody, I'm talking to the doctor in about 10 minutes or about 15 minutes or so. Okay, well, go ahead and tell us what you have, some other things before we're running out of time. It's already 8:22. My gosh.
Oh, yeah, I was watching the
time.
Okay. Okay. A cop pulled a man over. And he put handcuffs on him. And then suddenly the cop went down on his knees because he was choking on gum. Well, the man had handcuffs on. He said, please give me your keys. Well, finally the cop gave him his keys. Well, he managed to get his hands free off the handcuffs. Well, what he did, he picked the cop up and kept doing that, what do you call that, maneuvering, that when you pump, you have to pick them up and punch their chest.
Oh, wow.
Well, the maneuvering, well, he kept picking the cop up.
Well, the Heimlich maneuver. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
The
Heimlich maneuver. Yeah, we know it. We got you.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, the cop spit the gum out. Well, the man picks up the handcuffs, gives him back to the cop, and turns around and say, okay, handcuff me again. And the cop's like, hey, man, don't be crazy. You saved my life. And he hugged him. And I thought, you know what? You never know when our guardian angel is going to be around us.
Amen to that.
Because that man that he was guardian angel, that man could have said, hey, I'm running away. I'm going, he didn't have to say that cop.
Yep.
But he did. That's pretty cool, because he could say, hey, I'm just going to get handcuffs free. I'm running. But he didn't. He saved that cop.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was in Florida is where that happened.
Yep, I remember. I've seen that video before. I remember that video. Yeah, that was powerful.
Yeah, that was. It was beautiful too because we never know when we have, our guardian angel's going to appear.
That's right.
And that man was that cop's guardian angel. He saved his life.
Amen to that. True.
Yeah, it was beautiful, wasn't it?
Yep.
In Australia, players was playing golf when they looked up and saw a stampede of kangaroos hopping through the golf course. The golfers were hollering, get off of our ball, get off of our golf ball, clubs and stuff. There was, I don't know how many, it was a lot of kangaroos. And they was just running through the golf course like it wasn't nothing.
Wow.
I saw the video and it was beautiful, but the golfers was getting mad, like, you're messing up the game, get off, get off.
That and they can be aggressive too. Seriously, those little animals, they're not little. I mean, they can hurt you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get to my movie because it's going on 25 after.
Yeah. My
movie is on Walt Disney. It's called Gnome Mobile. It was Walter Brennan. A grandpa and his 2 grandchildren finds 2 gnomes. Gnomes are very, very small little people. They are lost, and they trying to find other gnomes because they're the only three left. So he takes his grandson because he's like, hey, we want to find some more gnomes. Well, when the grandpa and the two grandkids finds them, they're like, okay, we'll help you. So they get in a car and they name it the Gnomemobile.
Oh.
But they get into all kinds of trouble. Well, there's a mean man that wants them. So he fishes that he throws a rod and hooks the little gnome and reels him in like he's a fish and puts him in a picnic basket. Well, they get in all kinds of trouble, but I don't want to give it away, but this is a great movie.
We'll have to check that out, Miss Wilma.
Yes. Well, I'm going to jump off here because it's 26 after, and I hope I did put a smile on everybody's face, and hope everyone has a great night, and I love all of you, and God bless.
Thank you, Miss Wilma. We appreciate you talking to us.
I'm glad I got to come on. Night, everybody.
Good night. All right, bye-bye.
Good night.
All right, everybody. That was Miss Wilma. We appreciate her. We appreciate her so much. She comes on here and chats and spends time with us, and that we are very, very appreciative of that. So in just a second, we're gonna the doctor will be calling at 8:35 p.m. Eastern Standard. So that was that was what we had talked about. I'm going to open up the chat now for everybody, but again, I will turn off for TikTok. I will turn subscriber chat only on if it gets aggressive or nasty, because I'm not going to put up with trolls. I'm just not. Because again, nobody should have to put up with that. Nobody should. So it's one of those things that you just have to be kind. I don't know why people have to be so difficult and so hateful, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Okay, today we're going to talk soon when the doctor calls in. His name is Dr. Danny Hanna. And Dr. Hanna is a surgeon, and he is he works on individuals who are transgendered. And he's completed his undergraduate studies at Worcester State University in Massachusetts. He earned his master's in biomedical sciences at the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey, currently known as the Rutgers Biomedical and Health Sciences, quite prestigious. He chose this field of gender assignment, surgery, because it combines biology and medicine along with laboratory and discovery research. It provides more comprehensive basic education for gender reassignment surgeons. And determined to become a transgender surgeon, Dr. Hanna then completed his doctorate at the University of New England's College of Osteopathic Medicine in Maine. And with a robust LGBT curriculum for medical students, the school fostered compassion and empathy for those in the transgender and non-binary community. Dr. Hanna graduated summa cum laude, by the way. That's a perfect 4.0 GPA. And your Bishop Long actually graduated with a summa cum laude from Sullivan University with a Master's of Business. But anyway, so he graduated with summa cum laude. And I think that's pretty amazing. That shows that he has very passionate about the topic. With a doctorate of osteopathic medicine degree, it's a distinct branch of medicine that takes a whole person approach to hands-on care. Dr. Hanna completed an internship in general surgery and the first academic medical center in Philadelphia region to offer a transgender surgical program. And he then completed a residency in urology of Bryn Mawr Hospital in Pennsylvania, where he served as chief resident. And Dr. Hanna has since been certified by the American Board of Urology, meaning his practice adheres to the board's high standards of care, so patients can feel confident choosing him. And by the way, he later founded the Hanna Gender Center as a transgender surgeon in 2021. So here he exclusively serves trans men, women, and non-binary individuals on their path to becoming who they always were meant to be. By the way, for those also, in addition to his work as a transgender surgeon, Dr. Hanna also enlisted in the Army National Guard in 2005. He served as an infantryman and later as a tactical intelligence officer with the 223 Military Intelligence Company. He more recently served as the battalion surgeon for the 181 1st Infantry in Massachusetts, Army National Guard, and is currently still posted within the Army National Guard. Dr. Hanna maintains his connections with the military community through his work as a medical advisor with Sparta, and that organization allows him to advocate on behalf of transgender and non-binary individuals within the military. This is and here's how I found out about this individual. I was on TikTok and I was going through TikTok and I saw that he was on. And I thought, wow, it's pretty amazing. This is an individual who is willing to take his time. He is a surgeon. He doesn't have to do it. But the fact that he takes his time, he goes on TikTok, and of course he's trolled. He's got a lot of people come in and say nasty things, and he deals with them professionally, respectfully. But I think that says a lot about this gentleman who is willing to go on social media and talk about this. I think that says something that we got to at least hopefully you can acknowledge and respect that, even though you may disagree. Look, we're not going to agree on everything, and that's fine. But today we're going to be asking him questions, and I will, if you have questions, we'll certainly. I don't have a problem saying, hey, do you mind if we talk about this or talk about that? He's open to the discussions that you guys have. And I think that, again, that says a lot about his dedication to this particular field. For those asking, he's again, a very, very cool guy. And I do appreciate him taking this time. So he'll be calling in here pretty soon. And again, folks, you may not agree with certain things. That's fine. We don't have to agree on everything, but I think we have to at least respect each other and acknowledge that, hey, perhaps maybe we can learn from one another. Dr. Danny Hanna is his name for those of you who want to know, and we'll talk more about his information, and I'll share that. I'll share his later on when he calls here in a couple minutes. And we'll talk about all that information for you. So, let me just open this up real quick, because I think people ask me all the time about my views. And I've been relatively silent about them, not because I don't have them, not because I certainly have the views. I am not an expert in this, and I'm not going to pretend that I am. I was born in the body that I identify with as a male. So that would be considered a cisgender is what they call it. But let me just say this. So as we're gathered here on reflection and contemplation, I bring before you a question that pierces the heart and challenges the soul. What would you do if you knew that you had just had 5 fleeting minutes left in this world? How would you choose to spend those precious moments, and with whom? In the face of mortality, many would yearn for the comfort and embrace of their loved ones, seeking solace in their family presence and family and friends. Yet what if you were called to spend those final moments with those who have been marginalized, oppressed, cast out, aside by society, those who have been told that they're not good enough, not smart enough, not beautiful enough, those who have endured the hardship, the harshest judgments and the cruelest condemnations for simply being for who they are. Today, I stand before you today to declare that in those last 5 minutes, I would choose to stand in solidarity with the marginalized, the oppressed, the forgotten members of our society. I would seek out those precious souls who have been subjected to hate, discrimination because of their sexual orientation. And now we're going to talk to our friend, Dr. Danny. Hello there, Dr. Danny. How are you?
Hey, Bishop Long. How are you?
Well, I am doing fantastic, and I truly, truly appreciate you spending this few minutes here with us to chat with us about transgendered surgery and gender affirmation. I tell you, there's so many questions I have for you. So thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
If you will just indulge me for just a minute, I was just wrapping up kind of like a monologue, to kind of, I guess, explain my thoughts on transgendered issues, and because a lot of people ask me, and you know, I would choose to stand in solidarity. If you had only 5 minutes to live, that's it, 5 minutes. Who would you choose to spend that time with? And I would choose to stand in solidarity with the marginalized, the oppressed, the forgotten members of our society. I would seek out those precious souls who've been subjected to hate and discrimination because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. I would offer them the most profound gift of all, the gift of acceptance, love, and affirmation of their intrinsic worth and dignity. You know, in those final moments, as the veil between this world and the next grows thin, true clarity emerges. We come to understand that our worth is not defined by the narrow judgments of society, but by the boundless love and compassion of the divine. I would spend those precious last minutes persuading those who have been unjustly judged and condemned to see themselves through the eyes of God, eyes that see beauty, worth, infinite potential in every soul. So my challenge for all of you is, even though you may not understand this topic, to contemplate this profound question. Consider how you would choose to spend your last 5 minutes. If someone told you only have 5 minutes, I challenge each of you to commit yourselves to living each moment with courage, compassion, fierce dedication, to standing up for those who have been silenced and oppressed. For in doing so, we honor the sacred humanity within each and every one of us. We embrace the true essence of love and acceptance. So I hope that we go forth after this conversation inspired, uplifted, ready to be compassion and champions of justice, equality, love in a world that so desperately needs it. I say we should let us be the voices of hope for those who have been silenced, the hands of compassion for those who have been rejected, and the beacons of light for all who seek to find their place in this world. Dr. Danny, again, I want to thank you so much for taking this time. I know that your time is limited, and the fact that you are willing to give us your time to educate us about a topic that many of us maybe are confused about, I really, truly appreciate that.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And even just hearing that just now, I don't think I've ever heard a man of the cloth or a person of the cloth speak with such eloquence and sincerity for the marginalized community as it pertains to the LGBTQ population. So it's quite refreshing, and thank you for that.
I appreciate it. And you know what? Listen, I have friends that are transgendered. So let me just say this, because I think everyone, I will be honest with everyone, and up front, I'm very transparent. I am not transgendered. I cannot tell you, cannot tell anybody what it's like, because I've not walked in those shoes. But here's what I can tell you. People who are transgendered are human beings. And we cannot call ourselves Christian and yet judge and condemn those who live a different life than we do, and yet say, oh, well, I'm a Christian, but yet throw condemnation at people, because that is not Christianity. I think if Christ were here right now, I think he would absolutely defend those who are LGBTQIA. I think he would absolutely embrace them. And I absolutely think he would be doing the same thing he did when those men picked up the stones about stone the prostitute. And when he rose up, he said, now those without sin may cast the first stone. Now, but let me make this something very clear. I do not believe that it is sinful to be LGBTQIA. I think it is that person's nature. And for when we begin to judge people and condemn them because we don't understand it, that's where I draw the line and say, nope, I stand firm. And for people like Dr. Danny, who is going to be educating us on transgender rights, this is the first step to educating us and perhaps maybe giving you a different perspective. Dr. Danny, can you share with us your specific role? Because I went to your website, and can you give us your specific role within the medical field?
Yeah, so I am I'm a board certified urologist, but I specifically am a fellowship trained gender affirming surgeon. I only perform 5 procedures these days, All of them are gender affirming on trans males, trans females, and non-binary individuals. I do about 300, maybe a little bit more, 300 plus reconstructions every year. And I've dedicated my entire career to the transgender and non-binary population. This is all I do. This is all I ever do and will ever do. And I do it right here in Texas,
Wow.
a historically conservative state.
Sure is. Sure is. Now, let me get this out of the way, because a few people have sent me kind of a nasty. Now we can expect there's going to be trolls. We can,
Sure. Yeah.
So but I've told people before, you can lay flat on the ground and allow people to walk on you, and they'll still complain that you're not flat enough. And that's just the way it is. That's the way it's going to be. So there are some people, and please correct those individuals. There are some people saying that the only reason why someone is going to focus only on gender affirming surgery is because of the big bucks. Now, I have a hard time believing that specialty pays you far more than if you were, I don't know, a surgeon in general surgery. But educate us on that, if you would.
Yeah, so certainly not as lucrative as people say it is. It is a popular talking point amongst detractors. As I walk around my hospital, my car certainly isn't the nicest one. I wouldn't even say it's in the top 50th percentile. And I would say that's a pretty good gauge. And that's not what I'm chasing. On top of that, even if it was lucrative, the death threats that I get weekly aren't worth any sort of financial remuneration that I would get from performing these procedures. So no, it's not as lucrative as people think. No, I'm also not struggling. I can, I have a nice house. I can afford to put food on the table every night. I'm not suffering, but I'm also not going to be the next Elon Musk anytime soon.
So, doctor, let me ask you this. I mean, then what because of the threats that you get, and the trolls and the nastiness, and the people who just so filled with hate, what motivated you to pursue a specialized specialization in gender affirming surgeries?
Yeah, early on, so again, I'm a urologist by training. Very early on in residency, I had exposure to these procedures, and I generally loved working with the patients. The appreciation, the change that I saw from them coming in prior to surgery and then leaving with being the true version of themselves. I loved it. At a baseline, I have very, very good hands. I feel like I have the right personality for it. And sort of the intersectionality of just all of my internal character traits, my surgical abilities, and the fact that I love working with the population, that intersectionality came to gender affirming surgery. And that's sort of how I ended up doing this.
And okay, so can we talk a little bit about, first of all, the definitions? Because there's a lot of people that have their basic education, or maybe no education at all. So when we talk about cisgender, and when we're talking about gender, sexual orientation, let's talk about a little bit of terminology. How do you define, how would you explain the concept of being transgendered?
Well, it's very simple. So for example, I am a cisgender male. So I was assigned the male gender at birth, and I also identify as a male. When I look down, I see my genitals. I don't feel any sort of incongruency with what I see or what I feel internally. There's a variety of ways I could try and explain being trans. With the understanding that I'm not, right? I can only explain it in that I am, one, a scientist, and I live it sort of daily through my patients. But these patients, the best way I could explain it, James, is if you were to look down, see your genitals, or right now, let me go back. If you right now were to look down there and not see the genitals you saw female genitals, how would you feel? And that's what being transgender is. At a baseline, every interaction you've ever had from birth up until now has been predicated on a very basic tenet. You are a male. Okay? All of your interactions, all the hormones going through your body, the way people look at you, the way they talk to you, the way you do things, you are a male. And that is the basic precedence. These transgender individuals, from day one, the first interactions, everything has been wrong.
Okay. So then here's a lot of people don't understand, how do you differentiate gender and sex?
Yeah, so sex is a genetic trait. So sex is XX, XY.
Okay.
It's truly, these are the chromosomes that you're sort of born with. So, when I used to fill out documents in primary school, whenever we were taking tests, they would never actually say gender. They would always say sex, and I would put down male. Gender is, again, a construct. What do you identify as? Do you identify as a male? Do you identify as a female? Neither. Are you sort of in between? Have you not figured it out yet? Are you maybe a little bit here, a little bit there? Something we would generally say as non-binary. That would be the main difference. Sex is genetic and gender is the identity.
Okay, so then sex is the genitalia that you are born with, and then they say, okay, obviously if you're born with male genitalia, you're male, so you're male. But
yeah, and I wouldn't even go so far as to, because that's also superficial, right? So sex at a chromosomal level really is, it's chromosomal. And, we do have these things called disorders of sexual differentiation, where you may actually have a penis, but you are a female at the chromosomal level, or you have a single testicle and you have a streak gonad. You may have a penis and a uterus and a vagina. There's so many different variations, albeit rare. So sex is truly a chromosomal representation of the genetic makeup of an individual.
Okay, so for clarification, for purposes, because always people love to, the naysayers will always bring up the chromosomes. So scientifically speaking, a person can be born with male genitalia, however, have female chromosomes.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Okay, and
they could have an XY, they could have an XXY. Absolutely.
All right, and so a gender is what someone identifies as, whether it's a boy, a boy or girl. And the sex assigned, or the assigned gender, is what you're assigned at birth.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So the gender is what you were assigned at birth / how you identify currently.
That's really important, everybody, because I think we have to understand that, because a lot of people get that confused. So what the doctor is saying is, just because you were born a male, you have or a male genitalia, that doesn't necessarily define your gender identity. And so there's a separation between the two. And I think that's pretty fascinating. So can you elaborate, because a lot of people get this confused as well. Can you elaborate on the distinction between being transgendered and being gay? And is it possible for someone to identify as both?
Yes, it is. So somebody, again, being trans is, it's a gender issue, and being gay, homosexual, a lesbian, that is a sexuality issue. So who are you attracted to? Who are your mates going to be? Who are your partners? Those are completely different, have nothing to do with one another. So, for example, a transgender female, so somebody who has the male sex, who is born genetically a male but identifies as a female, if that individual is attracted to males, they are heterosexual. If they are attracted to females, then sexuality-wise, they would be considered homosexual.
Okay. So there's clearly there is a difference there. So I think people immediately confuse that the sexual orientation is, well, if you're transgender, you must be gay or lesbian or something of this nature. And there's certainly a separation between the two.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Absolutely.
And Jim is saying, important to remember that gender is a social construct. And I've heard this argument as well. So Uh, let's kind of go into that. In your perspective as a surgeon, as a scientist, is the experience of being transgender rooted in physical, psychological factors, or it's a combination of both?
I would say a combination of both. And when you say psychological, I mean really deep rooted. It's deep rooted biology to a degree. You know, being trans, it's not everyone in the DSM, the Diagnostics and Statistics Manual, DSM-5, it's gender dysphoria. We've got a diagnosis code for it, F64.9. This is characterized as in the psychiatric space, but you know, when we look at it and we take a look at the deep data, it's also biological. So I think it's physical. I think partially psychiatric, but there's also biologic evidence of deep-rooted things that are going on that are causing this incongruence. And let me give you an example. So, and these are studies that have been performed 20, 30 years ago. There are very specific structures in the brain that surround the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus itself is the deepest, most primitive portion of the mammalian brain. Every single mammal has this hypothalamus-like structure. And the hypothalamus is responsible for the most basic functions of mammals: fight or flight, temperature regulation, all these basic functions that we need to survive. And we've sort of identified areas within the hypothalamus that are also responsible for gender. So when somebody says to a transgender individual, no, you know, if this is a trans female that identifies as female, and you say to them, no, you're not trans. The analogy here is, remember, this is the hypothalamus, fight or flight, hunger. So it's almost like saying to somebody from day one who's crying and screaming and saying, I'm hungry, please feed me. And everybody's saying to this individual, oh, you're not hungry, we're not going to feed you. And every single day, this person is crying out, please feed me, please feed me, please feed me. And the entire world around them is saying, nope, you're not hungry, nobody's going to feed you. And you're going through life starving. That's really the scientific analogy for what's going on deep down with the same brain structures.
And for those of you just tuning in, we are chatting with Dr. Danny Hanna, and he is a gender affirming surgeon. And he is very, very kindly offering his time and chatting with it. By the way, doctor, how long do you have for this evening? I don't want to take too much of your time because I know you're quite busy. And
I blocked plenty of time for this,
great.
Bishop Long. So whatever you need.
Thank you. How does one come to realize that they are transgendered? I mean, and how do these realizations typically manifest?
Yeah, it's so personal. It'd be hard for me to to tell you exactly. I think it's different for everybody. I think regardless of when people identify, I think for some, they know it from, you know, the second they start having thoughts in childhood. For others, there's a deep-rooted incongruence and they have no idea what's going on until they figure it out in adulthood. But when they look back on their life, they realize they've been transgender forever. You know, it's something that if everybody had the gift of hindsight, foresight, whatever, you know, everybody who's trans would realize it as a child, because that's really when it starts.
Well, speaking of that, so at what age do you believe that some individuals commonly begin to recognize signs of being transgendered? And I know it's different from everybody, but because a lot of people say, well, kids have no concept of gender, and that's just simply, and that's not correct at all. That is absolutely incorrect. We know that kids actually around age 2, children become conscious of the physical differences between boys and girls, and that's by healthychildren.org, by the way, for those of you who are wanting to know where I got that from. So, from a surgeon, do you have an idea of when, like, boys and girls at a particular age can kind of recognize the signs of being maybe perhaps born in the wrong body?
Yeah, I think for, I couldn't tell you. My guess would be for some individuals, it would be 3-4 years old. Very young. extremely. I mean, as early as one has to be to form a memory or form a coherent thought. One where they can just have the most basic amount of introspection. I mean, gender's the most basic. Gender, hunger, again, fear. These are the most basic functions. So for some of these individuals, it's very, very early on.
And again, for those of you who are kind of against this or perhaps on the fence, healthychildren.org, they also state that before the third birthday, most children can easily label themselves either boy or girl. And by the age 4, most children have a stable sense of their gender identity. So the idea that children never think about this, it's just not correct. And there's also studies from other scientific organizations that say, hey, that does exist, that children do know the difference between boy and girl. So how have researchers, this is $1 million question, but have researchers pinpointed a cause for why someone might be born transgendered?
Not that I know of. The research may be out there, but I haven't seen it, and I'm pretty diligent about reading stuff. We can identify structures that are what's called sexually dimorphic. So, in somebody who is sexually a male, sexually a female, or genetically rather, we can identify that, hey, this individual is transgender based on these structures because somebody, like if this individual was a trans male, these specific brain centers are analogous to some individual who's a cisgender male. So those things do exist out there. But as far as why, I don't have a why. And I don't know if science has a why.
And for those of you, a Mayo Clinic actually did research on this. And between ages 18 and 24, children between age 18 and 24 months can recognize and label gender groups. They can identify other girls, women, or feminine, and they may label others as boys, men, or masculine. And most also label their own gender by the time they reach age 3. That's by the Mayo Clinic. So again, these are not information you're getting from just TikTok or social media. These are obviously credible sources.
So I'll tell you, it's documented very well, right? So somebody who pre-puberty, around 11, 12 years old, prior to puberty, if 100 individuals identify as trans, in actuality, only about 30 of them are. So there's a 70% drop-off rate from pediatric patients, true pediatric, like pre-pubertal ones who identify as trans. That being said, 11% of these children who identify have attempted suicide prior to coming out. So, at the very least, not getting these individuals mental health care, allowing them to even talk about it, you're writing off an entire segment of the population.
Now, this is amazing. It drives me crazy when people say this. But what are your thoughts on the assertion that being transgendered is a choice?
It's not a choice. Nobody would choose that life for themselves. They wouldn't choose the ridicule. They wouldn't choose the dysphoria, the incongruency, the deep-rooted thoughts. Nobody would choose to undergo the types of surgeries that I do if they didn't need to. It's just not. No.
Okay, so here's the question then for you as a surgeon. So let's say that there's a family out there, as a mom and dad watching this, and perhaps maybe their child has said, "Look, I was born in the wrong body. I'm not this gender," and so they take the child to you. And first of all, let me ask you this: would you perform? And that I get asked this all the time. I'm not a surgeon guy, so would you perform gender affirming surgery on a child that is younger than 18 years old?
No, I personally wouldn't. So the youngest I operate on is 18. There's several parts to this. Number one, I'm in Texas. And number two, I'm not a pediatric surgeon. Number three, and there's nuance to this, right? And I think that's what what gets lost. Everybody's always looking for yes or no, but there's nuance. These aren't. It's not possible to answer this with a binary answer.
Sure.
I personally don't see many situations in which it would be appropriate to operate on somebody this young. That being said, it doesn't mean that situation doesn't exist. That's not my world. I don't know what somebody's going through. That being said, it's not up to me. It's not up to the politicians to decide who it's appropriate to get surgery or not. That's up to the patients. That's up to their families.
And now, can you explain
and
this?
I'm sure those situations do exist out there.
I know one thing that is debated out there are beta blockers for individuals who certainly have gender dysphoria. And again, gender dysphoria, folks, for example, if you're born male, but you identify as female, then you obviously are looking at your male genitalia as a deformity. Really, it shouldn't be there. It's an abnormal growth. That's we're talking about. It's an abnormal growth. So the question, what is the criteria that you use to diagnose someone as transgendered?
So so I'm a surgeon. By the time patients see me, they have identified as trans. 99% of the time, they're plugged in with mental health mental health professionals. And these individuals have been diagnosed. They've been living in their gender roles for years. So that truly is outside of my purview. I am seeing mature individuals who, identify as their gender of choice and are living in their identified gender.
So do you support, as a surgeon, do you support a parent and let's say a 10-year-old kid who has not gone through puberty and they are transgendered and they do not want to go through puberty? I've heard this beta blocker argument that you can take medicine that will suppress you entering into puberty. And there's a reason for that, folks, because if you're born male and you identify as female, then you certainly, the problem is the voice getting deeper and the changes of puberty. So many people would want to suppress that and not enter into puberty until after perhaps they speak to their surgeon or doctor about this. So do you support, I guess I think they're called beta blockers that would support
hormone blockers.
Hormone blockers. Okay. Do you support suppressing that so that the child would not go into puberty?
Yeah, so that's a decision for the parents. I think the physician's job is to educate the parents on the risks and benefits of therapy, and it's up to parents to listen to their children, and up to a certain degree, children, while they may not have the capacity to make these sorts of decisions, they should have some say in what's going on, and they have parents that are taking care of them who can also make these decisions. It's said out there in the research that hormone blockers are completely irreversible, the effects. I think as the data comes out, we're going to find that there are some issues with hormone blockers long term if somebody stops them. That being said, remember, 11% of these individuals, before they come out to anybody, have attempted suicide. That's an incredible number. Are you going to tell somebody who has an 11% risk of suicide, no, we're not going to treat you if you're on the edge? That seems unconscionable to me.
Yeah, and
you have to give care where care is needed.
I agree with that 100%. And if someone comes to you, let's say that they have a minor and they are perhaps seeking surgery, and I know you said you would not do it in less than 18. But then how do you mediate between the desires of the minor and saying, look, this is what I really want, and the concerns of their parents? Is there a pathway to where they can go to get the help? And do you, as a surgeon, do you support? I'm not talking about do you do or offer surgery. Do you support gender affirming surgery to people who are younger than 18?
So I support any care when appropriate for an individual who needs it. And there's no limit to it. Again, this is not a binary yes or no. There's nuance. And I think everybody's different, and somebody who needs care should have access to it.
Fair enough. And so, what are the potential risks and outcomes so that are communicated to patients? I would imagine that this type of surgery, whether it be, I've heard the term bottom surgery or lower surgery. I don't know the appropriate term, but what are the risks that's communicated to the patients?
Yeah. So when somebody first sees me for a desired procedure of choice, we go through, first of all, ask them a plethora of questions. Then I'll essentially show them a prepared PowerPoint that I have that shows them a variety of photos, goes through the entire surgical process from start to finish. And I go through all the risks and benefits of a particular procedure to include risk factors and percentages. And I'll say, here are the national averages for this type of complication. Here's my personal risk, or here's the incidence in my practice. And I'm not one of these surgeons that likes to sugarcoat things or gloss over bad complications if one is possible. Patients should be educated. Again, they're coming to get surgery. They have agency. They're getting a lot of conflicting information online, and I want them to hear it from me, because there's not many people like me out there. There's probably 25 or 30 surgeons in the United States who perform these procedures, even less than that number who perform as many as I do. So, I see a lot. Patients should be aware of what's possible, and I like to educate them.
So Diane there on YouTube is asking, she was told that male to female surgery was more complicated than a female to male. Is that correct?
I would actually, I think it's different depending on the surgeons. I think some surgeons focus more on one transition than the other. I tend to see more male to female or feminizing non-binary transitions than I do male. I still do both. So for me, because I just do hundreds of bottom female reconstructions every year, they're extremely complicated, but they're just not that difficult anymore. And I would consider the male ones in that regard to be a little bit more challenging, just because I don't perform as many. But no, when I have a female bottom surgery, sometimes I do 3 in one day. I never lose sleep the night before. It's never a stressful case. It's always, it's always a pleasure to do them, and we just go through the surgery and we finish, and that's it.
So let's talk about something that we talked about, the surgery. Those individuals who do have the issues of gender identity, and they're struggling with that. What does the process of detransitioning involve, and how common is it? So, because people always say that, well, there's most people who have these surgeries want to go back. So, is that true, or is that just, or is there any validity to this?
No, there's zero validity to that.
Okay.
The incidence of regret after one of these procedures is documented at less than 1%.
Oh.
So, just to be clear, no matter what you're doing in this world, whether you're coming on a podcast, or you're having dinner, or you're buying a book, or you're buying a pair of pants, every categorized action has an incidence of regret. There's always going to be a little bit of regret with things that you're doing in this life. So the idea that there would be zero regret to these procedures is, it's laughable. Of course there's going to be, just like there's regret for everything in this world, or any set of procedures, even for cisgender individuals. So for transgender individuals undergoing genital reconstructive surgery, the incidence of regret is less than 1%. Now compare that to a cisgendered individual who's getting a cosmetic plastic surgery, just like your neighbor who's getting a nose job, or a boob job, or a lip lift, or Botox, or something else. The incidences of regret for those procedures is sometimes around 9%, 9 times higher than the rate of regret for transgendered reconstruction. So this is just one of those things where, political detractors or, extreme right-wing media have sort of got a hold of it, and they're running with it. But the incidence of regret for these procedures is multi-fold lower than it is for regret for cisgender procedures.
Okay, so and again, the terminology that I apologize if the terminology that I'm not using is the proper term because we're all learning, but this is a sensitive question, but I think it's a necessary one. There are those individuals who are opponents, and they say that a man who was born male and transitioned to a female, that one that this individual will never be a female because they will never have a period. They will never be able to have children. They do not have a womb. That basically that their penis is an inverted penis and it's not a real female genitalia. How would you address those opposition issues?
It's just hateful speech.
Okay.
Somebody who's coming at it with just such emotional and strong language and such hatred. It's hard to take anyone like that seriously. And those individuals, it's also very hard to have an educated conversation with them because you and I, for example, this is the first time we're really chatting.
Mm-hmm.
But if we were to go out for drinks or hang out, I'm sure we would find something that you and I disagree on, whatever it is, something in the world. Maybe you like this football team, I like that one, whatever it is. But we're two reasonable individuals, and I would listen to the pros and cons of this argument, and you would listen to the pros and cons of it, and we would, come to an agreement. A lot of these individuals that use such emotional and hate-filled charged language and beliefs, you're never going to change their mind. So for me, it's just, it's not even worth addressing.
So, okay, let me ask you this way. If someone is born male and they are transgender, they want to transition into the gender that they identify with, obviously as female, and they have the surgery, would you identify the genitalia that they end up with as a female, as a vagina? Would you say this is so? Okay, you would. Okay, there you go, folks.
Yeah,
so
well,
people are asking.
I do, and it's my I guess paperwork is everything, right? Medical paperwork, it's legal binding. When I do my procedures and patient starts out with this and then they end up with a vagina goes on my paperwork. I don't put, the inverted genital structure here. No, this is a vagina. That's what it is.
Okay, well, so there we are, folks. So I think that kind of deals with that because there are a lot of people who do argue that this is not, but you as a surgeon say that that's what it is. So there is no difference. Would you say that there is a difference, or would you say that it's that's what it is?
Well, Bishop Long, these are there's a complex external vulvar anatomy, and there's an internal vagina. These patients have a clitoris, at least my patients. I can't speak to anyone else.
Okay.
My patients have a functional clitoris that they can stimulate to orgasm. They have external labia. They have a vaginal canal that they can receive receptive intercourse through. You tell me, does that sound like a real vagina?
Well, I don't know, doctor. I'm celibate, but hey, I'm going to take your word for it, buddy. I will take your word for it. You're the doctor here. We could talk about God. I can help you with that one, but this one, hands off, literally hands off, and no pun intended to that top. Okay, let me ask you this one because a lot of people have sent me these questions, and I do have to ask you. Perhaps you know more obviously about this, but there is something about a WPATH document leaks or something. WPATH. It's
Yep. So the World Professional Association of Transgender Health. So I wouldn't call it a governing body, but it's an educational body that comes up with sort of guidelines and educational resources for transgendered individual and healthcare providers as well.
So some have, from my understanding, some have likened these surgeries to a lobotomy. Obviously, you would not agree to that.
Yeah, well, for one, it's just anatomically, it's factually incorrect. I don't do brain surgery, so it's definitely not a lobotomy.
And now, and again, I just want to get your take on this because I don't know. There were accusations that the procedures being pressured onto vulnerable populations is a type of sterilization. Obviously, that seems a bit extreme to me.
Yeah, it's hard for me to process. Honestly, it's hard for me to process those words in the same sentence.
Okay.
So first of all, I definitely don't pressure I can only speak to myself. I don't pressure anyone into surgery. It's the exact opposite, actually. There needs to be significant buy-in from the patient for these procedures. I'll give you an example. If you came to me and asked me to perform this procedure on you tomorrow, you could have a big pillow sack with the money green dollar signs on it, demanding that I perform surgery on you on Monday. And you know what? It's just not going to happen. Why? Because, well, there's a process. I have to get to know you a little bit. You and I need to have a consultation. We then need to have another chat a month before surgery. You're going to have about 10 to 12 interactions with my staff in order to arrange lab work and all these other things. And at each one of these interactions, I or my staff have the ability to pull the brakes and say, hey, you know what? This individual may not be at their best right now, and they may not be able to take care of themselves after surgery. My motto is leave the patients better than you found them. And if I feel like the patient is not at their best, and we may need to, again, pause and come back in a couple months and wait for when the patient is ready so they can be the best version of themselves, then we'll do that. I've canceled surgeries on the day of surgery because I felt like a patient wasn't ready. So in terms of pressuring individuals to get surgery, it's the exact opposite in my practice. Patients need to pressure me to do the surgery on them.
I mean, yeah, that harm you none. I mean, that's the hypocritical. I mean, you have, and I think I think people need to understand that when you have this type of surgery, it's just like the doctor says, you're not going to call and say, hey, I'm going to be there tomorrow. Well, it doesn't work that way. I mean, there's a process that you have to go through.
Yeah. And these patients also, per WPATH, again, the World Professional Association of Transgender Health, and insurance companies. So, you know, I do accept insurance as another one of those reasons why I'm not the billionaire that people accuse me of being. WPATH and insurance companies, they do set barriers to care. So for somebody who wants bottom surgery, those individuals will need to produce a letter of support from 2 different mental health providers. So these are 2 letters that validate the person has gender dysphoria, that they are who they say they are, that they're mentally stable for ready, that they can adequately care for themselves after surgery. So these are all sort of gatekeeping measures that really mandate that a patient is ready for surgery.
Yeah, and the doctor confirmed that yes, there is a pre-surgical counseling prior to this. Obviously, I pretty much I think I know the answer to this question. Would you recommend gender affirming procedures to a transgender individual close to you, a family member?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I do have a not in my direct family, but extended family. We've got somebody who's trans, and if they ever decided that surgery was right for them, then I would absolutely advocate for it. I just want to be clear, surgery is not for everybody. Mm-hmm. Not everybody needs it. Surgery is really an individual decision for people to make to take their transition to the next level if they deem it necessary. And I tell you this as a surgeon, surgery is 100% not for everybody.
So then how do they cope then? How is an individual who has gender dysphoria, for example, or if they're born in the wrong physical body, how are they able to cope without having the surgery?
Yeah, so for some people, their gender dysphoria is not as strong towards their genitals as it is for other things. Okay. Some transgender individuals find their original genitals useful, and as long as they live in their new gender role, they're good enough with it. Maybe they don't want the risk burden of undergoing a procedure, or maybe they haven't found the right surgeon yet. There's a variety of reasons why somebody would choose not to undergo surgery, but those are such deeply personal issues. And, you know, I think everybody transitions the best way they know how. And you know, I support them in doing that.
And I think it's important. Everybody says this is a new trend that's occurring, and this has never happened before, folks. That's just simply incorrect. Lily Elby, and she was born in 1886. 1931, she passed away, is the first known recipient of sexual reassignment surgery. Sorry, folks, this is not a new trend. I know some people think that it is. It's not. And I think that might be confusing.
There's a handful of surgeons these days that now perform it, right? So and because there's a handful of more surgeons, there's increased access to care. So to suggest that because there's an increased access to care, more people are getting it, that it's a new trend is a fallacy. You know what? Antibiotics are also fairly new. They're less than 100 years old. So are we going to start saying that, oh, antibiotics to cure life-threatening infections, that's the new trend? That's the analogy there. What are we talking about? What are we arguing about? This is life-saving care. Somebody who's trans in my practice who gets surgery is cured after surgery. 95+% of my patients in my practice who undergo surgery report to me somewhere between the 3 and 6 month mark that their gender dysphoria is either completely gone or at the very least severely reduced.
And can you describe the general timeline and recovery process for like a gender transition surgery for both male to female and female to male?
Well, I presume you're talking about the bottom surgeries. I would say, generally speaking, 3 months to, again, it's not medical advice, but generally in my practice, 3 months to unrestricted activity. But it really takes somebody a year to 100% feel like themselves. And that's just because, scientifically, we can track that inflammatory cascade, tissue healing, swelling going down, weird pains and neuropathies and stuff like that. Most of those things tend to resolve at around a year. But like a trans feminine patient who gets bottom surgery, he's 100% cleared for all activity, to include sexual activity, gyms, working out, whatever it is, at the 3 month mark in most cases.
And Richie Louise on TikTok says, my teen has been trying to explain all this to me. And Richie says, I get it now. He is happy. See, this is why we're doing this, folks. This is why I'm so honored that Doctor is coming on and chatting with you guys about this, because, it's so important. Education is absolutely crucial. And I want to, let's end this, because we got to make this very clear, because we have got to nip this real quick. There's a lot of people who say that individuals who have this type of surgery, that it's all mental illness, that they are sick and they need to be dealt with from a psychological perspective, science, and not have gender affirming surgery. Obviously, what would you say to those people?
I would say you're wrong, and you need to open your eyes to the suffering that's happening in front of you.
Well, I tell you what.
Turn off Fox News and open up your eyes to reality.
Well, Dr. Dan, I want to thank you so much. First of all, for those of you on TikTok, can you tell everybody what your handle is so they can follow you on TikTok?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Bishop Long. So it's both on TikTok and Instagram. It's Dr. Danny Hanna, DrDanyHanna. And if you want to learn more, you can always go to my website, hannagendercenter.com.
So I'm going to put this in here so that everybody can see this. That way people know, because I think it's important. I really do believe that people need to know this and educate themselves. So Dr. Hanna, Dr. Danny Hanna, there you go. For those of you who are on Instagram, and for those of you who are on TikTok, it's Dr. Dr. Dany Hanna. It's all one word, basically. Dr. Danny Hanna. Make sure you go over and follow the doctor he talks about. And matter of fact, that's how I found you. I was flipping through the channels on TikTok, because I've been wanting to speak to somebody, and you're like somebody like yourself. And when you came on, I thought, this is it. I definitely want to have this gentleman on. So you are. I
appreciate you reaching out.
I appreciate you taking the time, Doctor. And so thank you so very much.
It's my pleasure. And thank you for all the work that you do.
Absolutely. All right. You have a beautiful night.
Thank you as well.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Well, there you go, folks. I'm telling you what, this is so important, I think, to have that conversation. And see, that's the thing, that right there, what we just did, folks, we just had a conversation about a very intense topic. But we didn't scream, we didn't yell, we didn't have to holler. We just a conversation. That's what adults do. We have conversations. And so hopefully that's really important to understand, folks. And I've talked to some folks there on TikTok who are transgendered, and the individuals who've gone through the surgery. And I didn't really understand this myself, but I have learned that there is a difference between your gender and the identity, what you may be born, your sex. There's a difference between your sex and your gender. So in other words, this is how you separate the two. Just because you were born a male, that's your sex, that does not define your gender. Your gender is eventually learned and agree. You understand it as you grow older, and you identify as either female or male. So if you are born a male and you grow up and you still identify yourself as a man, then you are called cisgender. That's what that's called. I had no idea what cisgender even meant. So that's what you identify with the sex that you were assigned at birth. If you're a female, if you were born a female girl, and you obviously that was your sex, and you grow up and you identify as a female, then you're cisgender. That's how it works. But these individuals, well, again, Harry, you're wrong. You are wrong. And there are people who see, it's amazing to me how the people say, no, there's no such thing. You're not walking in their shoes, Harry. You're not walking in their shoes. So until you walk in their shoes, you don't have that authority to say that doesn't exist. You don't have the authority. It's amazing. Well, see, gender dysphoria. Well, again, it's not just a matter of I feel. This is people say, well, this is about let's say a girl who is a tomboy. We've all heard about that, right? We've all heard the tomboy argument that, oh, it's just it's a tomboy. This is not about being a tomboy. This is about when they see themselves in the mirror, they are seeing the wrong gender. That they absolutely are convinced that they know that they are in the wrong body. People say, well, that doesn't exist. Okay, well, you know what? It does. You're not going to go through this type of surgery just because. I will tell you that right now. I have talked to people who've had the surgery. This is not a pleasant surgery. You don't do it just for the hell of it. This is a life-altering surgery. And for those who do go through this is not just because of a feeling or because they want to get attention. That's absurd. That is absolutely absurd. That's asinine thinking. Asinine thinking. Somebody doesn't do that just to get attention. I mean, if you want to get attention, then go on a dating site. I don't know, but you certainly would not go to a surgeon, go through a psychological evaluation, go through all the therapies that you have to go through, and then have surgery. This is not an easy surgery. And the doctor just told us it would take a year just for you to begin to feel normal again. A year. So people don't do this just because. And there's a lot of people who say, well, it's all psychological. And then I'm going to say to them, then where did you get your psychology degree? Are you a psychiatrist? Are you a licensed mental health therapist? So you're just giving an opinion based on what? There's nothing here. Look, here's the deal. I'm going to make this clear to everybody. Teenagers who are transgendered unalive themselves at an alarming rate. And for anybody to think that this is just something because it's a modern concept or just because they're getting attention, that is insulting. to the individuals who have unalived themselves because of this. Now, if you're going to spend your time here on earth condemning and judging other people and saying, what's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong. Well, you know what? I think that if it was something so easy and if it was just a choice, that it's unbelievably ignorant to think that this is a choice. That to me, that's ignorant thinking, because no one would choose to live this life knowing, number one, the type of surgery that they may have to face. Not all of them have surgery, but many do. And to think that that's just a choice, that's just stupid. That's just stupid. That's dumb. That thinking to me is completely ignorant. Completely ignorant. Let me answer a few questions here because I think it's important. And I really don't care if I make people mad when I say this. I don't care. I need to stand. There are things that I stand for, and I'm not going to apologize to anybody. Is being transgendered a sin? Hell no, it's not a sin. Is having gender surgery playing God? No, it's not playing God, because you're not creating a human being. Unfortunately, nature is not so cut and dry as everybody thinks. Everybody thinks that it's just so black and white, and it's not. Just like being gay is not a choice. And that is the most stupid ass thing I've ever heard in my life. Someone saying being gay is a choice. Shut up. If being gay is a choice, then I want you, those of you who think it's a choice, I want you tomorrow to wake up and be sexually attracted to the same sex. Go ahead and do it. Be sexually attracted to the same sex. You can't do it. And don't sit there and say you can. So where's the choice? People have unalived themselves because they grew up in a family that have judged and said it's an evil, it's terrible. Believe me, if it was a choice, they would choose to be heterosexual so they wouldn't have to live that lifestyle. So again, it's absurd. Are transgender marriages valid? Yes. Are transgender individuals able to receive all the sacraments of the church? Yes. What would you say to someone who has been ashamed of their sexual preferences or gender identity? I would tell them that God loves them exactly as they are, and they are not a mistake. And for those people who think they can get on the cross and judge other people, that don't listen to anybody that you would not go to advice for. That's exactly what I would say to them. Is homosexuality a sin? No. Well, it says in the Bible. Where does it say in the Bible? It says in Leviticus. Are you following the 613 laws in Leviticus? No, then you're a hypocrite. Because you can't follow all 600. You can't follow all six. If you only go cherry pick in Leviticus and Deuteronomy, if you're only going to cherry pick certain passages in the Holiness Code and not follow all 613 laws, Jesus actually said that you have lukewarm faith, that he vomits you out of his mouth. That's what he said in Revelation. That's one thing that he didn't like the Pharisees. That's why he called them hypocrites. Because the Pharisees would judge other people because they weren't following all 613 laws, and they would judge them. And yet these hypocrites who thought that they were God Almighty weren't following them either. What recommendation do you have for individuals who struggle to accept transgenderism? I would say learn. I would say find credible sources, reliable sources. That's right. Absolutely, Joe. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I would say go to reliable sources, credible sources, and sources that are intelligent and not social media. That's what I would do. I would educate yourself, just like we had the doctor on to talk to us about it. How can Christianity effectively address the needs of transgender community and show them the love of God? Because Jesus made it clear that we are to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and body, and love our neighbor as ourselves. Jesus made it very clear we have no authority to judge. What does the Bible say about transgenderism? Nothing. Nothing. I just, to me, here's the deal. I'm not transgendered, and I don't know what it's like to live in a body that I don't identify with. I don't know. I don't know what that's like. I was born a male, and I identify as a male. I can't tell you what it's like. But here's what I can tell you: the people that I know who are transgendered are good people who are not psychologically ill. For those people who want to pass judgment upon them, then where is your degree in psychology? You don't have one, then shut up. It's amazing that people they think they have the authority to pass judgment, that they actually think that they can judge somebody and then diagnose someone with a mental illness, but have no degree behind them. Isn't that amazing? I wonder how that works. I don't know. You can explain that to me. I'd like to know. Seriously, there's a lot of people that love to say, well, I'm going to diagnose you with this. Really? So where did you go to school? Yeah, Dr. Google. Yeah. I really do. I think these people need to consider suing their brains for non-support. I do. I believe they need to do this. No, I just don't. I mean, it just, I don't know. I look at, if someone wants to transgendered, if they want to go through the surgery and they identify as a female and they were born male, they identify as a female, you know what? That's between them and God. That decision doesn't affect me at all. I'm going to love them one way, both. I'm going to love them no matter what. But we have this tendency that there's so many narcissistic people in this world that we think that just because we don't agree with it, then everybody else needs to agree with it. That's narcissism. That is a mental illness. So to me, it's kind of like, hey, if that's what you need to do to be happy, then I'm not here to judge you. I don't understand. And I've said it before. I don't understand. But that doesn't give me the authority to judge them. It gives me the authority to say James Long doesn't understand what it's like to be born a male but identify as a female. I have every right to say I don't understand. And I don't. But I do empathize. And see, that's one thing that we have. That's one thing that we don't have a lot of in this world. Empathy. Empathy. And I think if we start having a little bit more empathy, then perhaps maybe we would be a little bit less judgmental. But to me, I know there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who there's a lot of clergy out there. I don't care. Okay, you've lost all respect for me. Hey, Jeffrey, guess what? Let me help you. And I'm going to block you, ass clown. Bye-bye. I've lost a lot of respect for you. Because, see, I don't associate myself with people who think that they're God. I don't associate myself with people who tell Jesus to get off the cross and let me have a try. See, I don't associate with people like that. What I associate with people are people who show empathy and respect and love and compassion. That's the people that I respect. See, Jesus didn't like the Pharisees because they were hypocrites. They thought they were God. They thought they could judge. So I really don't give a damn if you've lost all respect for me. I don't care. And I promise you, I will sleep very comfortably tonight. Oh, I've lost all respect for you. Oh, boy, let me go talk to my therapist because Jeffrey said he's lost all respect for me. I don't give a damn. I would rather you hate me for who I am than love me for who I am not. And that's the truth. Bye. Bye, Felicia. See, isn't it amazing? See, this is what I'm talking about. See, when you preach love and you preach compassion, that pisses off the trolls. That pisses off people. That really makes people's inner demons furious. What I have said today is we are to show love. We are to show compassion. We are to have empathy that I don't understand, but I'm trying to learn. That's what I've said today. And he's lost respect. I'm going to have to get off here, folks. I'm going to have to go talk to my therapist. I always admire someone who's committed to their work, even if it's trolling. Keep striving for excellence. Anyway, what are you going to do? Okay. Oh, you have an ear infection. No fun. No fun at all. Okay. So anyway, I look, that was what I wanted to present to you guys. And hopefully you've learned. Hopefully we've all learned. I've learned. And we've gotten a perspective from a surgeon. And you still may say, well, I still don't understand. That's okay. That's good. No problem with that. You have every right to say, I still don't understand. So, but the trolls are having delusions of competence. That's the issue with the trolls. They're having delusions of confidence. Okay. Yeah, so if you have any questions, we can get to them. Yeah, if you have any, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think we need more clergy to actually preach the message of Christ rather than the message of man. There have been many people who have turned away from Christianity because of the actions of man in the name of Christ. Nope, Jesus did not have superpowers. He's God. Yeah. Yeah, it's really, the trolls are. I mean, there's, judging, there's an old saying, what you know can't hurt you. Well, in the trolls cases, that's practically invulnerable. I mean, that's, all right. What is a legitimate question? No, he did not have, are the superpowers? No, he did not have superpowers. Is that was a question? Walks on, you mean water? Yeah. I mean, when you're talking about superpower, remember, he's God. So as far as superpowers, I guess, yeah, I guess one would identify as that. Oh, Bishop, you can come talk to me. There you go. You have your license in psychology. There we go. There we go. I will definitely, yeah. I'm Catholic. Yeah. Okay. So if you have any questions, we can get into them. And go. Oh, for those of you, I'm a Spreaker. I'm going to go ahead and say goodnight to you guys. I'm not leaving. I just want to wrap the Spreaker up because this is one less program that I have to deal with. So let me just close this out real quick. Hang on, everybody. It just makes it much easier, so then I don't have to keep doing that. There we go. All right. Yeah, I've talked about the ring. That's an amethyst. Oh, you're very welcome. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Oh yeah. People love Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. They love that. If a man lies with another man, it's abomination. They should commit it, and they should be put to death. Their blood is upon them. Yeah. Okay. Do you know why it was written that? Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13. That was somebody who was asking about that. I'll be happy to explain it. Because if you look at the translation, and even in Paul's translation. But if you look at that, the actual translation they were talking about, first of all, you need to understand that men were seen as created in the image of God, not women. Women were seen as second-class citizens. They had no rights. Sex was an act of ownership. When a man lay down with a woman, that because he was saying, I lay down with you, I own you. You also have to look at the entire text, the context. You can't take it out of context because it was talking about idolatry. The whole that passage was talking about idolatry. So if a man lay down with a woman, he was saying, I own you. And if I own you, no problem. If a man lay down with another man, he was saying, I own you. And if I own you, then I must also own the imago of Yahweh, the image of God. That is idolatry. That was the abomination. People don't like when I say that. No, that's a great question, Bear. No, because it's an indelible mark on the soul. That's a great question, though. Where's the feed? No authority. No, I think I have authority. It's called Jesus Christ. I was ordained. I don't know what you're talking about, no authority, but I really don't care. Okay. And there's actually there's a lot of people who say that Leviticus 18 verse 22 and chapter 20 verse 13 is about pedophilia, not homosexuality. The actual verse says man should not lie down with a boy as with a woman. That's the actual translation. So if you really want to get specific. No, we're good. We're good. Yep, that's the translation. Read it. Well, hey, yeah. And hey, hello to everybody. I throw Ezekiel. What if transgender do not practice Christian faith? Well, Sherry, I have friends that are not Christians, and I love them all. You know, I don't. I may not disagree. I may not agree with their religious views, and that's okay. But what I do is I talk to them, and if they talk to me, I say, hey, look, you know, what is it about Christianity that doesn't resonate with you? And I have found that most of the time, honest to God, most of the time is because of the hate and the judgment and the condemnation that people who claim to be Christian throw at individuals. And then that, because of that hate, and let me make this very clear. And I want to make this abundantly very clear to all the trolls out there, and listen carefully. As God is my witness, I believe this with all of my soul. If you spread hate and judgment and condemnation, and you are the cause for someone to turn away from Christianity, because if they say, if that's Christianity, I don't want any part of it, as God is my witness, you will answer to God for that. Because Christianity is not supposed to be a judgment and condemnation and hate. Christianity is about love, compassion, empathy. That is Christianity. Everything about Christ was about love. And I am absolutely convinced. Here's the deal. I never, ever want to be the cause of my hatred, of my vile spewing hatred out of them. I never want to do that to anybody and be the cause of them saying, I'm done with this. I'm done with Christianity. I don't want any part of it. Because I will tell you, I've spoken to quite a few people who have left Christianity because of that very issue. Well, Randy, you're welcome here. You're welcome here. But I'm serious. I've seen it happen all the time. And it really infuriates me, because people who call themselves Christian, that is why St. James said faith without works is dead. You cannot call yourself a Christian and go around condemning and judging people. Then your faith is dead. That's not Christianity. And that's just the way it is. So if you use your words for hate, if you use your words for condemnation, and someone is struggling with their faith, perhaps maybe they are gay, perhaps maybe they are transgendered, and you're using your words for hate and condemnation, and you judge them, and then they say, you know what, I can't deal with this. I don't think I want to be a part of that faith. You have just caused that person to lose faith in Christ. That is one hell of a sin. And I think that is a mortal sin. When you cause someone to lose faith in Christ, you're going to have one bad day when you stand in front of God. And then God says, why did you spew vileness and hatred towards my child? Who the hell do you think you are? So I've spoken to so many people who've walked away from Christianity because of that, because of people who claim to be Christians, but they are vile. The hatred that they, all you have to do is go on social media. Go on social media. And when you go to, if you go to TikTok and you listen to some of the conversations that people have, I have actually flipped to the things, and there was an individual who was struggling with his sexual orientation, and he was I think 18 years old, 18, 19, I can't remember exactly, and he was struggling with it, and he was talking to the host about it, and then they brought someone up who was a Christian. This person was the devil incarnate. The things this person said to this young man was pure evil. I mean, pure evil. It got to the point where that young man started to cry, and he said, I can't take this. I can't take it. I can't take it. And he logged off. That is not Christianity. That is pure demonic. Now, you may not agree with homosexuality. You may not agree with transgender issues, but by God, if you're going to call yourself a Christian, you better damn well act like it. And it starts with showing compassion, showing love and empathy. You may not agree with it. You may not understand it. But the moment you begin to spew vile hatred towards another person because you don't agree with something, you don't realize that the devil has just kicked your ass, and you don't even know it. Yeah, he logged off. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know anything about. I don't know any. I don't know. And here's the thing, folks, and I'm going to say it one more time. If you think being gay is a choice, then here's my challenge for you. Wake up tomorrow and be sexually attracted to the same sex. Now, if you were going to be honest with me, then you know darn well that you wouldn't be able to do it. So where's the choice? It's absurd. It truly is absurd to think that anybody would choose a lifestyle where you are gay bashed, you get threatened, you're constantly hearing derogatory comments, you're being judged, you're being condemned to the fiery pits of hell by other people who claim to be Christians constantly, and you think people are going to choose that lifestyle. Young kids who have unalived themselves because they couldn't change their sexual orientation. Come on, folks. Come on. Oh, I saw Karen got muted. I'm muted. Oh, so we have a Karen in here who got muted. Imagine that. Yeah, we'll get one just a second. Exorcist, please elaborate. Yep, I'm an exorcist. I performed 31 exorcisms. And people ask me all the time, they ask me, well, what's the scariest thing you've seen? Hatred online. Hatred online is far more scary than me walking into a location where someone is possessed. Thank you. Now, and I mean that with all my heart. I would rather walk into a situation of an exorcism than to watch and witness the amount of hate that is being spewed by people who claim to be Christians online. Yeah, the mods are on it tonight. They're not playing around. Yeah, I can't bring you on, guys. I can't bring you on the screen because I have two different computers running at the same time. So, oh, I agree, Catherine. I agree. But it's true. It is absolutely. It's no doubt, 100%. That is the scariest things that I've seen. The scariest thing is the amount of hate and the judgment and condemnation that I've seen online. That is far more frightening than an exorcism. Oh, I'm sorry, Lynette. Yeah, I used to teach kids who had learning and behavior disorders, so I understand. Well, thank you there, Mommy and Daddy 1929. If you start going to church as a Catholic, is it a sin? No, I'm a Catholic. No, we're Christians. The Catholics are Christians. No, we're not going to do this, Lana. Lana, hey, Lana, guess what? Yeah, I was going to block. Yeah, someone's the only true church. Okay, go ahead. Go on with your elitism. We don't want it. We don't want it. I mean, there are some people who just think that they're, good God. See my point? That's my point right there. The amount of hate online right there. See? That is the Christians people who claim to be Christians are some of the most vile human beings that I have seen. They are just spewing filth. Oh, wow, Nicole. So here's the deal, guys. I don't believe. I don't believe. If Jesus was a Jew, how come we are Catholic? Well, Catholic means universal, and because the Jewish faith does not teach that Jesus was the Messiah. They're still waiting for the Messiah. They believe that he was a rabbi, respectfully, and but I don't believe. So let me just say this to all of you. I do not discriminate against people who are in the LGBTQIA community. I don't discriminate people who are straight. I don't discriminate against people who are asexual. I don't discriminate against people, I don't know, whatever. I don't believe we have no business discriminating and hating anybody. I don't believe that being gay is a choice. No, I don't. And it's absurd to think so. It's absurd. And I think someone who is transgendered is going through enough hell that the last thing we need to do is add more to it. And when you go through surgery, that is a tremendous process. And I can't imagine going through that. And I also can't imagine having to deal with so much hatred from people who call themselves Christians and how they have to deal with such hatred. I don't understand. I don't get it. I was not raised that way. I grew up in a conservative Catholic family. So that's why I grew up my family was conservative. I grew up as an altar boy in the Roman Catholic Church. We went to church every single Sunday. We never missed, ever, under no circumstances. I loved serving as an altar boy. Catholicism was very important in our family. I didn't grow up understanding LGBT. I didn't grow up knowing what transgender was. I didn't grow up with any of that stuff. I mean, you know, when you're talking 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, none of that stuff, I didn't grow up with that. So I understand people being confused. But I think just because you don't understand something doesn't mean that it's bad. We can still learn from each other. But I can't imagine being transgendered and having to deal with that type of hate. I get enough as it is, just being clergy. And I talk about love and compassion. That's what I talk about. Love and compassion and being kind to one another. And look at the amount of hate that I get. I'm only 45. I wish I was. I'm no longer 45. I wish I was. But no. But yeah, I can't imagine. Okay. I was always scared of saying it to anyone. Always hiding. Angelic sinner hiding what? What are you talking about? I'm 30. I'm in my 50s. So no, I'm not 30s or 40s. So I'm in my 50s. Can you? I mean, the gray hair. I mean, that's kind of reasons. Well, rooms you have. I mean, honestly, life is so much easier when you just stay away from judging people. It's just so much easier. Thank you. It is. It's so much more fulfilling when you're able to show compassion and love to people than hate. Honest to God, I could not possibly go to bed knowing that I just caused someone pain. I couldn't do it. I don't know, Father Coda, no. Okay, so what other questions do you guys have? I'll be happy to. I talked about that, Jacob, already, buddy. I've already answered that question. We've kind of spamming there, kind of spamming. So we talked about that. That Jesus is God. So I guess what you're saying is, yeah, he walked on water and things of this nature. He did miracles. He didn't do miracles just so he can say, "Look what I can do." That wasn't the point of doing that. He walked on water to show that he controlled the entire, even the elements. Because of that huge storm that was brewing. And yet he was teaching the disciples focus on him and that he even has the power to control the elements. That was the point. It wasn't because, hey, I'm Superman, look, I can fly. So that's the last time I'm going to address that because I've kind of addressed it a couple of times already. Well, thank you, Justin. Right, Jeremiah, right. How do you not judge when you know that what they do is so bad? Brian, who does is so bad? No, I have not, Eric. I don't know, Diane. I don't know. I'm waiting for people that are doing what? You have to be more specific. I need, when you say people who are doing what specifically. I mean, I do believe in. Yeah, I believe what goes around comes around. But the first communion, well, I mean, Kathleen, the requirements for communion obviously is, I believe, is the true presence of Jesus, fully divinity and humanity of Christ. But I mean, they're giving first graders, second graders communion. I mean, do they really truly understand transubstantiation? I'm not superstitious, no, but I believe what goes around comes around. I believe what you put out comes around. So I don't think that's superstitious. I think that's just the way life is. I think if you project hate, you're going to receive hate. If you project love, you're going to receive love. Yeah, a good confession is a perfect contrition. A perfect contrition is when you make a contrition because you're truly sorry for that act, not because you want something out of it, but because you truly are sorry for it. We have no authority to say who goes to heaven and who does not. None. The moment you say that this person does not go to heaven is the moment you play God. We have no authority to judge. None. That's ego. Now, you don't have to agree with someone's faith. That's fine. But you can't say that that person is going to heaven or hell. Can't do it. Or certainly can't say hell. You don't have the authority to say that. Only one judge, one authority. And that authority comes from Christ, not us. We even serial killers. We have no authority. We can't, once you make a judgment on someone's eternal salvation, remember there's only one judge, only one authority, and that's Christ. That's it. That is it. The moment you say these people go to hell, you've overreached. Oh, really? Really? Tiger? Was one your uncle was a serial killer? Yes, I am saved. Absolutely, Catherine. Is it Tigger? I think that's what you were saying. No. I don't know if this is true, folks. I'm trying to read this and trying to read here at the same time. I have two computers going at the same time. So you guys, please understand that it's not that I'm ignoring questions. It's just it's hard enough to focus on this, but I've got two computers running here. So I don't know is this true? I don't know what this is. I don't know what you're referring to. I must have missed it. We have no authority to decide who goes to heaven or hell. That's not up to us. 129,000 likes. Thank you, everybody, on a Saturday night. Thank you very much for liking this. I appreciate that. Peter asks, Jesus, what about him? What is it to you if I want him to live until I come? We have to. How do you handle the mental awareness of a death culture? I mean, as far as what do you mean specifically? The death culture? You talking about the death penalty? I'm really confused with some of the you folks. You have to when you say that. How do you? I'm really confused about that. Generational curses. I mean, Scripture talks about generational curses, especially if you enter into the covenant with God. But I just I'm not a really big fan of because we many times we want to, if bad things happen to us, we immediately want to say it's demons, and then we become a victim and we victimize ourselves. So I think we have to be careful about that. Thank you there, Priscilla. It's too many questions. Right. Diane says, I know people that thought being gay was a sin until they had a grandchild that came into their life. Then their attitude changed when they learned that he was gay. Isn't that interesting how that works? Right. I agree, Crazy 022. Yeah, I agree with that. Oh, thank you there, Tiny Binks. He is a wonderful. Yeah, Willie's great. I talked Stephanie. We had a conversation about that yesterday on Mediums. Coda's statement. Oh no. What did I did not. Okay. I'm trying to get to the questions. There's just a lot of them. Am I crashing? No, I'm not crashing. I've got this chat here. I'm trying to keep up with in this chat here. So, and then people are getting upset saying, you're not answering my question. Well, sorry, sunshine, but there's a lot of questions going on here. So doing the best I can. I promise you. Do I have any regrets? Well, I think that certainly we all have regrets, I think, from time to time. Well, thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. See, again, well, I'm not going to make judgment as far as who goes to heaven and who goes to hell. I'm just not. I think that. Let me tell you. Let me just say this. No, Angela. Am I what? Am I single? Angela G8. Yes, I am single. No, I do. I have a family. Well, my friends are family. Um, I know people who are atheists who are more Christian than individuals who go to church every Sunday, and as soon as even in church they're talking smack and gossip about an individual in church. I've seen it. And then as soon as they leave, they are, oh, the gossip they're spreading about somebody, they're talking about somebody like they are a dog. And I know people who are atheists who are more loving, who are more compassionate, who are more Christian than the people who go to church every single Sunday. Well, thank you there, Bill. It's out of respect there, John. Gossip? Gossip is spreading lies about somebody. Okay, Catherine, we will. You don't believe God exists? Oh, well, why? No, anxiety is not a demon. Anxiety, no. There's a lot of people want to preach that anxiety is a demon, autism is a demon, schizophrenia is a demon. You know what? Those people are ignorant who teach that, and they should be ashamed of themselves because I think it's very irresponsible, very irresponsible. And anxiety occurs because we're going through extreme stress in life. Now, can demons attach that? To attach, certainly it can. But to say that demons and all this other stuff, I just think it's so irresponsible. People do that. I understand, Renee. I do. I understand. I didn't judge anybody. I just simply made the statement that I do not. I do believe that anybody who teaches that um, anxiety is demonic and autism is demonic and schizophrenia is demonic, I believe absolutely it is irresponsible to teach that. Yes, I do believe that. See, you're getting confused. If someone goes out and robs a bank, you can say that is a bad act. You shouldn't do it. It's bad. You absolutely can say this. But there's a difference between saying that is a bad act and now you're going to burn in the fiery pits of hell. See, that's what you have to understand. You can look at the act, robbing a bank. You shouldn't rob a bank. I mean, it is one of the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not steal. I think we kind of remember that's there. So yeah, you can say you shouldn't do it. But when you start judging the person and saying you're going to burn in hell because of it, well, now you're judging the soul. And that's what you can't do. Yeah, Malachi Martin. I never got to meet Malachi. So I never got to meet him, but Malachi Martin, the hostage of the devil, is fantastic. Yeah, I was taught by the Benedictines and the Jesuits. The Benedictines primarily stay in a cloister. They're in the monastic setting. Now there are some Benedictine monks who have parishes, but most of the Benedictine monks will stay in a cloister. The Jesuits are. I went to Loyola University. The Jesuits are what I had no problem with the Jesuits. Some people say, "Oh, the Jesuits are all this." Look, I was taught by the Jesuits. I love the Jesuits, and I love the Benedictines. And so, to me, the Jesuits taught you how to think, and that's why philosophy is very important. And when I was at Loyola, we were really, it was tough, but they taught you how to think. The Benedictines taught you discipline, hospitality, prayer, and both, of course, both taught the same thing. But I think it was a wonderful combination of the both. Area, I don't believe so. I just simply don't believe so. Because the person who goes to that is in the right state of mind. They know what they're doing. They have the intent. And I don't believe it. Well, Laser Blast is asking, is cremation okay? It depends. Well, first of all, I don't know what your faith is, but in the Roman Catholic Church, in the Catechism, it teaches that yes, you can be cremated. However, your ashes should not be separated. Now, that's in the Roman Catholic Church, so you can agree or disagree. But because I was taught in the Roman Catholic Seminary, and I was taught the Catechism, but I don't think there's any issues at all. Personally, I don't feel that there. I don't think if you spread your ashes out to people that's going to be an impediment for you getting into heaven. So I just simply don't believe that. I agree, Brian. I agree. I agree. But that's what I'm saying. You're saying, oh, why would they burn in hell? Well, that's what I'm saying. There are people who do that. There are people who have said this. There are people who believe and say, well, you robbed a bank, you're going to burn in hell for it. I've talked to people who actually are absolutely convinced that they're going to burn in the fiery pits of hell because they robbed the bank. So what I'm saying to you is we cannot, as Christians, once we cross that line, you're going to hell. Now what you have just done is served ego. And that's edging God out. You have made a judgment on the person's soul. We have no authority to do that. None whatsoever. Because that authority only comes from one source. That's God. God is the only source that has the authority to determine who goes to heaven and who does not. Once you say that person's in hell, you have overreached. You overreached. You don't have that authority. You're sitting in the seat of judgment. We don't have that judge. We don't have that authority. But you can certainly say robbing a bank is a bad act. That's not an issue. So that's what I'm trying to say. I do believe in I believe in a form of purgatory, and I don't see purgatory as a bad thing at all. I think of purgatory is the purging of sin. It's because you're uniting with a pure spirit like God, obviously with God and with all the saints above in heaven. And I think that purgatory, I don't see that as a negative thing at all. I think that is a purging of the stain of sin and to be united with God. And I don't think it's a long process, but that's just me. But a lot of people debate purgatory, and that's okay. That's okay. I just think that purging of the stain of sin, and of course that's one of the reasons why we do the last rites with the individual, which is a beautiful sacrament, by the way, of the church. Well, thank you there, Ovo. Ovo Ride 1 said, handsome. Well, thank you, Ovo. I took a shower today. I'm in Kentucky. We're allowed one shower a week. Just one. With soap. Just tease. Sorry. I have not. I do not have to be celibate. No. I've taken a vow of celibacy, but no, our clergy are not required to. I was taught by one of my instructors in graduate school was Bishop Robert Barron, Father Robert Barron. He's now he's a bishop in the Roman Catholic Church. Brilliant theologian, brilliant philosopher, and so I was really honored to have him as one of my instructors. So, yeah, Bishop Robert Barron is really fantastic. Well, in the Roman Catholic Church, they do. In the Roman Catholic Church, and actually, there are Roman Catholic priests that are married because they went, they converted from either Episcopalians, Lutherans, and they came to the Roman Catholic Church. Now, if their spouse passes away, then they cannot be married again. So they cannot get remarried. Here's what I did not like about Second Vatican, especially when it comes to nuns. I think Second Vatican II really messed up big time when it came to nuns. Because I have admiration for nuns. When I was a kid, I had extra tutoring with nuns. Education was very important in my family, And so I've always had a great respect for our nuns and sisters. And Second Vatican, it was a shame because they basically reduced nuns to that of laity. And there was a massive exit from nuns who made their vows because they were basically told, you're laity basically. And I think that was wrong. I really truly believe that was wrong, and they should not have done that. So I disagree with that completely. There was a mass exodus, and rightfully so. Yeah, the 3 days of darkness. I don't worry about that too much. I really don't worry about that. Yeah, I think that's what purgatory is. It's a cleansing of our lives. So it's a waiting room, if you will. But I don't see purgatory as anything to be scary about. Laity is people who are not ordained, but they made their perpetual vows. They are religious, and so basically they were just after Second Vatican Council. They just say you're laity, so it would be like you're the same as a mom and dad who just goes to church, and that really insulted a lot of nuns who made their perpetual vows. They made their vows. They were married to Christ. They were celibate, and then they were just told, "Hey, you're laity," and that was just wrong. I didn't want to be a bishop. The church called me to be a bishop. Anybody who actually wants to be a bishop, I would never want to. We consider those individuals who have purple power or purple power fever, and the people who want to be bishops, they usually do it for the ego and they think there's power in it. But being a bishop means it's just a lot more work, and a lot more responsibility. But no, I never, that was not in the plans at all. My plan was to be ordained and have a parish priest, to be a parish priest, and then that's it. Just live my life, and there we go. So I did not go to no. I was able to, thankfully, in the seminary, Gina. The clergy project, I'm not. Yeah, well, my plan until God said, "Hey, by the way, I want you over here." So. Yeah. See, Jack, the church called me to that. Okay. It's honorable, but it's a different perspective. It's a different responsibility. I mean, when I ordain someone, I mean that is a connection that I have with that person, and I take that quite seriously. I don't really worry about the 3 day of darkness. I just don't. I respect the Pope Francis. I think what Francis has done for the poor, and even against government corruption, I think he should be applauded for that. I've not been to Medjugorje, no. Yeah, the nuns, can it be changed? I don't think they're going to, no. And that, to me, I think is a shame. I really think that they need to, if they ever have another council, I really think they should ratify that. I truly believe because that was, in my opinion, they shouldn't have done it in the first place. And it really did cause a mass exodus. And I understand that. I understand why. I mean, you devote your entire life to serving Christ, and then you're told you're laity. I mean, that just, no, there are nuns. There are still nuns, but I just think that the Second Vatican Council really did some damage to the vocations. There was a huge exodus. A lot of nuns left because they were told they were just laity. It's just not right. And I think that was shame. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay. And I just want to make sure moderators are okay. For Pope Francis is not affiliate with this Illuminati. Second Vatican Council took place from 1962 to 1965. Thank you there, user. I appreciate 7975. Thank you. We don't know. We don't know when Jesus is going to happen, going to return. We just we don't know. And whenever it happens, I'm ready. I'm ready. So I'm good to go. No, I have never met the Pope. However, I have had a rosary that was blessed by St. Pope John Paul II when I was an altar boy. And the parish priest went to, Father Pius, went to Rome, and they had a small group of priests in the chapel, and he blessed rosaries. And so I was able to get one of them. So I don't, you know what, Brian, I don't worry. I really don't worry if the second coming's got, I don't worry myself because I can't control it. And here's what I'm going to tell you guys. Don't allow anybody, please don't allow people to frighten you and scare you, because there's a lot of people on social media right now. Oh, it's World War III. Oh, it's going to be the end of times. Well, first of all, I believe Revelation is prophetic. I believe it's prophecy. And I'm teaching Revelations, as a matter of fact, on Sundays and Wednesdays. There are things that have to occur before the second coming even occurs. So I don't worry about it. I can't control it. I don't decide when it happens. So I don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it at all. And don't, because there's a lot of anxiety being promulgated, if you will, on social media. And there's a lot of people whose anxiety is out. I mean, just out the roof. I mean, just unbelievable. Don't do that. Don't get frustrated. I don't disagree, Chops. I agree with you. Yeah, the rosary is a beautiful prayer. I think I love the rosary. Oh, sure. Yeah, the stigmata. I've studied the stigmata. St. Francis actually was the first known to have the stigmata. And I know there's a lot of Padre Pio and there's other people, but there's a lot. There's a history of individuals having stigmata. Well, I mean, Catholics pray the rosary. It's a form of a devotion to honor the Virgin Mary and to meditate on the mysteries of the life of Christ. So the rosary for those, it consists of a series of prayers. We pray the Our Father, the Hail Mary, obviously both biblical. Meditation on the events in the life of Christ and Mary. But again, we do not see Mary as a co-redemptress. She cannot redeem. She's not God. Only God can redeem. Oh, wow. There's a man on TikTok and he says that we need to have escape routes for the second coming. That's kind of crazy. Is it? That can't be on the second coming. No. Laser, have I ever lost faith? No, I've never lost faith. But I've gotten very, very frustrated with the amount of hate and judgment and condemnation that my fellow brothers and sisters who call themselves Christians participate in. That's frustrating. But no, because I'm deeply in love with Christ, deeply in love. And the Christ that I know and the Christ that I'm in love with is the Christ that defended the prostitute when man's law said that she should be stoned to death. And yet he defended her. The Christ that I'm in love with is the Christ that embraced the leper before he physically healed him. It's really important. Remember, Jesus he held the leper. He did that first. And then he healed him. And that's unbelievable because remember, leprosy was seen as man's law said that if you had leprosy, it was because of your sins and that God was punishing you. And so these people may not have even been around families for years and years, have never had human contact for years. And then Jesus shows up on the scene, then they're supposed to scream, unclean, unclean, because if you didn't, then the penalty was stoning to death. You're supposed to stone them. And then Jesus shows up on the scenes, and this leper then runs to him, which you're never supposed to do. You're supposed to stay 100 yards away, screaming, unclean, unclean. And he runs to them knowing full well what's going to happen, because if Jesus said, "How dare you run towards me, you unclean reptile," and then throwing stones at him. But he did. And before Jesus healed him, he embraced him. That's the Jesus that I love. That's the Jesus that I teach about. The Jesus that embraced this man who was ostracized, told that he is a terrible human being, and he held him to remind him that he's still a child of God and that he has worth, no matter what anyone else says. And then he healed him physically. Jesus didn't have to. Jesus didn't have to touch that man. Jesus didn't have to embrace him. Jesus could have, even with a thought, Jesus could have healed that man with leprosy. Just a thought. Boom, leprosy was completely healed. But Jesus didn't do that. Jesus held him first. See, that's who I love, and that's who I teach. I don't know this Jesus that people preach about of hatred and condemnation. I don't know that Jesus. I don't want to know that Jesus, because that's not the Jesus that I love. Yep. He showed compassion. Yeah. And that's, yeah. Well, he said, "Go and sin no more" to the prostitute. That is correct, because she committed adultery. But he did not say, "Go and sin no more for your leprosy." That's not what he said. He actually said, "Go and now show the priest," because they were required. They have to actually go and show the priest that they no longer had the sores. And then after the 8th day, if they no longer had the sores, then they were allowed back into the temple. And so that's why Jesus, because they were required to do this. A novena, someone's asking the 9 days of novena. The 9 days of novena is a form of worship. Consists of like special prayers of service, like 9 consecutive days. Different novenas may be dedicated to like various saints or even intentions. And a lot of people have, there's a lot of popular novenas, Novena of the Sacred Heart of Christ, Novena of Our Lady of Perpetual Help, Novena of St. Joseph. So yeah, Jesus didn't tell the leprosy to go and sin no more, because Jesus, that was not a sin. He didn't attract leprosy because he sinned. He attracted leprosy because leprosy was a very, very contagious disease. But they believed at that time, the upper elites, they believed that you had leprosy because you sinned and that God was punishing you. Nephilim actually means fierce warriors. Nephilims are not offspring of angels and women or demons and women. It's very clear. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4 tells us that the Nephilim existed before and after the sons of God had relations with men, with relations with women. So therefore, they could not have been offspring of demons and women. Jesus said angels neither marry or procreate. So that was all a lie, just to make a movie and sell a book. So the Nephilim, Genesis chapter 6, verse 4 says they existed before and after. The sons of God were children of Seth. Seth is the third child of Adam and Eve. And they were not demons. And that was the book of Enoch. And there's a lot of problems with the book of Enoch. So, okay. I mean, everything happens for a reason. I don't believe in predestination. Is that if that's what you're referring to? Oh, I absolutely believe that angels are here. We know A198. We know that angels come down on earth, because remember, it says in Scripture that when Jesus was in Gethsemane, the angels came down and comforted him. So absolutely, I believe our guardian angels are here. But remember, as I tell you, yes, Jesus is 100% God. Remember, I tell you guys all the time that your guardian angels cannot intercede on your behalf unless you give them permission to. Because if they help you without your permission, it's violating your free will. So you have to remember that. You have to give them permission. Simple. Okay, the Nephilim were giants. Okay, but again, the term giants is subjective. You may think of a 6'8" person as a giant. The Goliath was actually between 6'8" and 7'2". So, and they considered him a giant. So certainly a person who's 5 foot or 5'2", a 7 foot man is probably a giant. So we immediately assume giants had to have been 20 feet. That's not what it was referring to. That's that Jewish. Yeah, there's a Metatron in Jewish teachings. On the lost books of the, I will. Yeah, we'll do that. Well, the Bible. I mean, the Bible didn't mention a lot of things, but I mean, just people say, well, the Bible didn't mention this, the Bible didn't mention that. Well, the Bible. I mean, that wasn't the point. Could they have been possessed? Who? Jackie, could who be possessed by? Yeah, I'm teaching on the rapture and where that come from, and on Revelations and why it talks about how the end of the church age will be caught up, and so that's where the term rapture, because caught up, actually the root of the Latin word is raptura, which is rapture. Yeah, the lost books are interesting, but keep in mind, I've read some of the books, and the Gospel of Thomas is quite interesting. When it says when Jesus was a little kid, he bumped into somebody and he threatened. The kid bumped into Jesus, and Jesus threatened to turn him into a frog. And the Gospel of Judas is really strange. It's very heavy on astrology, really heavy, and it's kind of weird. It's all about that. Judas says he was the favored Messiah, the favored disciple, and the Gospel of Mary Magdalene says the same thing. Absolutely, Curtis, 100%. Yeah, it's the Gospel of Judas. Yeah, you're lying. Okay, well, Curtis, let me introduce you to something, but it's called a block. Bye bye. I really don't care. I don't care. See, once again, someone who's claiming to be Christian, judging. See, this is what I'm talking about. The constant judging. People are going to be shocked. They're going to be shocked when they stand in front of God and God says, who the hell do you think you are judging my children? That's all you've done. You've spent your entire life judging people. No, it's a Gnostic gospel, Heather. Okay, if you have a question, you go ahead and ask it, because there's a lot. I have two computers running at the same time, so two chats running at the same time. That's right. Yeah, he did. That's $1 million question. Toenails is asking, did Judas repent? A Gnostic. Gnostic. It's a Gnostic, not agnostic, Gnostic. Here's the deal. There's a lot of theologians who are arguing that Judas had to have some form of repentance because he did what he did. He unalived himself. Look, Judas. Here's the deal with Judas. Judas betrayed Jesus for 30 silver pieces. It wasn't a whole lot of money at the time. So Judas was an individual who, he was a huge instigator. And remember, they believed that the Messiah would overthrow the Roman Empire. I mean, that was what they were taught since cradle. So they were taught that this Messiah would show up and then overthrow the Roman Empire, develop a strong government. Judas believed, I think, that Jesus was that Messiah. But then Jesus started talking about laying your life down and giving your life for your friends and turning the other cheek and loving your neighbors and loving your enemies. And Judas is saying, no, wait a minute, this is not what we were taught. We weren't taught this. And I think many theologians argue that Judas chose to betray Jesus because he thought that was the way to start this revolution, to overthrowing the Roman Empire. And then when Judas saw how beaten Jesus was and how tortured he was, then many people feel that he was so overwhelmed with grief, with anger, with himself, and repentance, and that he unalived himself. Obviously, he felt unbelievably guilty. So he there was a conscience there. So he has a conscience because he felt so overwhelmed with guilt that he unalived himself. So someone doesn't unalive themselves if they don't feel guilty. So he must have felt that. Now, did he say, I'm sorry before that? We just simply don't know. We don't know. We don't know. The Chosen is interesting. Again, we cannot say who is in heaven and who is in hell. We do not have, I hope everybody goes to heaven. We do not have the authority to make that judgment. Someone, I think probably Revelation because it's so misunderstood. Yeah, but see that, I mean, Jesus said, had it been better for you not been born. I mean, see, that's the thing though. That's the thing. Jesus was going to go to the cross regardless of Judas betraying him. Judas did not have to betray him in order for Jesus to go to the cross because that was going to happen one way or the other. So that was inevitable. So people say, well, poor Judas was a pawn in this game. No, it was not. Judas did not have to betray Jesus in order for Jesus to go to the cross. That was going to happen one way or the other. Judas betrayed Jesus because he put his own ego before Jesus' mission, because he wanted to serve in the court, in the Roman powerful court that Jesus was going to establish by overthrowing the Roman Empire. No, Jesus was going to be crucified no matter what, because that was his mission. So Judas did not have to betray him. He chose to betray him because Judas was serving his own ego, his own desires, and his own desire. Because remember, the disciples were even talking about who was the favorite disciple and that kind of stuff. And Jesus, that's why Jesus explained to them, look, if you're going to follow me, you need to pick up your cross and you got to serve one another. And so they didn't quite, because they were still under the impression that they were going to serve in this powerful military that's going to overthrow the Roman government. And Jesus said, no, that's not the way this is supposed to go. So many people think that Judas, because he was filled with ego and he wanted that power and he wanted to serve, and that he kind of sped it up a little bit. So, but it's interesting. It's a very interesting thought. He was clearly filled with grief. He was clearly filled with guilt. That we know because he unalived himself. What he did before, we just simply don't know. We don't know. So, but we do, what we can't say is this person or that person is in hell. And we just can't do it. So, thank you. Absolutely. For those of you who are, folks, I'm going to have to wrap things up because I have to be up at 4 a.m. tomorrow, saying it's already 10:42 and I've been here since 8. So it's going to be a long day tomorrow. Tomorrow I have Bible study. Bible study is right here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. By the way, for those of you who are on, time, that daylight savings time. Yep, daylight savings time. Remember, clocks move forward. Don't forget. So if you are in daylight savings time, they move forward tonight. So if your clocks don't automatically do it, you got to set it up. And daylight savings, a lot of people, losing an hour. So that starts tonight, later on this tomorrow morning, whatever. Yeah, I know. No fun. But I'll be here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I'll talk about Bible study. And then we're going to get into Revelation again. So we'll do Revelation. My friends, remember I tell you that your value does not decrease based on someone's inability or refusal to see your worth. Remember, you're priceless. And don't let anybody tell you or convince you otherwise. Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Good night.